What we see in the fossil record is a repeated pattern of explosions where new types of organisms appear abruptly in the fossil record without clear direct evolutionary precursors. And so, for example, the most famous one of these is the Cambrian explosion, where most of the major groups of animals called phyla appear in the fossil record in the Cambrian about 520, 530 million years ago in a very abrupt manner. And this, I think Richard Dawkins said, this is more or less an exact quote, that it's as though they were just planted there without any evolutionary history. I mean, that's really extraordinary. And we see other explosions in the history of life. We see that there is a plant explosion. There's an angiosperm explosion where you see what's been called the big bloom of flowering plants. There's an explosion of different types of fish. There's a bird explosion in the fossil record. There's a mammal explosion in the fossil record. The origin of our own genus Homo, we're the species Homo sapiens, it has been called a Big Bang theory of human evolution because the human-like body plan appears abruptly in the fossil record. So this is a pattern that we see over and over again. And in my view, as an ID theorist, I think what we're seeing is the infusion of very large amounts of information into the biosphere to generate new types of organisms. And that is reflected in the abrupt appearance of these new types of organisms. So again, ideas about the origin of new types of information and where does information come from? What we see in the fossil record is the same pattern. Very large amounts of information being introduced into the natural world very rapidly. And that shows up as these explosions of new types of life forms in the fossil record. Let's say, remember when we used to watch VHS tapes? Okay, let's say I've got a VHS tape. And I give you this tape and I say, I promise you, Brandon and Alan, that I caught leprechauns on this VHS tape. Now, they're too small and too fast to be seen, but I promise you they're there. Are you going to believe me? You're going to be like, no, I think you're trying to sell me something that isn't good here. Okay. That's kind of the way I feel about punctual equilibrium. The evolution is always taking place somewhere else or in a place where it couldn't be recorded by the fossil record. I don't find that to be a very compelling theory. There have also been complaints from biologists who say that it's called punk-eq. The punk-eq model requires too much biological change too quickly. And you just can't get that kind of biological change